The number one biggest mistake I see new cleaning business make is, drumroll, pricing. They either price the services way too low and go almost broke, or they price it way too high and they can't even get customers. Now, I know this because I've been there. When I first started my business, I had no idea what I was doing. I was making $5 or $10 in profit per job, and I thought, oh my God, this is incredible. This is beer money. I know there's a better way now. Having been in business for 12 years now, building my own location to over $150,000 in monthly recurring revenue, launching 40 plus franchises across the US, I know that there's a science to this, and this is what I call the perfect pricing formula. Now, normally we teach this to our franchisees. I'm going to give it to you here today for free. This is a scientific backed methodology to figure out the perfect pricing and making sure you're maximizing profit and be set up for scale. Now, the reason I want you to know this is not just you can make more money and make sure your things are priced properly, but here's the truth in business. The more money you make, the better opportunity you have for your employees and for your team members, and you can make their lives better. It's a duty not just to yourself, but to your entire team for you to make more money, right? You're not doing a disservice to your clients by charging them too much. You're doing a disservice to your team members by not charging enough to your clients, because you want the ability to pay them, for them to be able to change their lives. So you nailing pricing here, and you probably increasing pricing if you're watching this and you already have a business, is the best thing you could possibly do for your team. A lot of people keep their prices low because they're like, oh, well, like, I don't want to, overcharge the customer. I feel bad about it. Dude, take care of your team members, right? Everyone wins if you raise your prices and price things properly. I was in Trader Joe's the other day, and I was going through the wine aisle, and I don't know anything about wine. Like, I've gone to vineyards before and learned about it, and I forgot about it immediately the next day. So how does someone like me look at the wines? I look at the prices, and I say, oh, well, this one's like a $3 bottle of wine, and Trader Joe's does have like a $5 bottle of wine. I looked at that and said, no, there's no chance. Like, I'm going to get a hangover. I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to do that. Let me go for something in the $20 range. Then I just went there and I grabbed a $20 bottle of wine. Now, that $5 bottle of wine and the $20 bottle of wine, it could be the exact same thing inside. I have no idea. But me, because I'm a human, I assumed the thing which was more expensive had more value and was going to be better automatically. It could taste the exact same. I would have no idea. And this is how human psychology works, right? It's human nature to equate value with price. That's just how things work. If people pay more for stuff, they just assume it's better quality. So a lot of people, when they start their cleaning business, start their any business, they want to go with the lowest price. The logic is, well, I'll just get the max amount of people in. Number one, these are probably not the people you want. The lowest bottom barrel price buyers are not the buyers you want. Number two, if you raise your price, people will perceive your service as being better. It's just human nature. Now, I do recommend the ethical thing is actually make your service better. The cool part is, if you're making more profits, you have more funds to make your service even cooler. But this is human nature. Think about that. Now, let me tell you a story over here. Now, an average burger now is like $14, let's say. It's $14 for a burger. There was a report online of a guy who bought a $50,000 burger. It was like gold plated and like that Salt Bae dude stuff on it. I'm kidding, I have no idea. But it was a very expensive burger and it got a lot of publicity. It was this hedge fund guy from New York who bought this burger. And I think they said his like annual income was $50 million, something ridiculous. It sounds crazy because like, do you think the $50,000 burger is thousands of times better than the $14 burger? Probably not. But someone clearly bought this, and it sounds ridiculous to spend that amount of money on that. Like, I don't care if I'm a billionaire, I'm not going to spend $50,000 on a burger. Then thinking about this more, the minimum wage in the US, $7 an hour. So $14 burger, it's about 2 hours of work to afford this $14 an hour burger. The hedge fund guy in New York who bought this ridiculous $50,000 burger, if you backtrack his hourly rate, it's about $25,000 an hour he's making. So a $50,000 burger cost him 2 hours. It's the exact same thing in terms of hours spent to acquire this thing. Think about it that way, is people have different preferences and different things, different ways they buy things. And what I want you to remember is you are not your customer. If you think, dude, I would never pay X amount of dollars for this cleaning service, or I would never pay X amount of dollars for this painting service, you aren't necessarily your customer. People have different income levels, and as a percent of their income, maybe it's completely and wildly different. You just need to make sure the thing you offer them is actually up to par, right? If we're trying to sell this burger for $50,000, not going to work. If you make it super special and exclusive and stuff, you could probably sell a burger for $50,000 because there's people who have money who will absolutely buy it. It's the same thing with the customers you're selling to. You might think your service is expensive. Make sure, number one, you're providing a good service, but even if you think your service is expensive, for other people, that's like half an hour's of work for them. right? So realize you are not your customer. And I think a lot of people underprice themselves because they think, you know what, like this sounds expensive. Would I buy this? People will. People bought a $50,000 burger. I think you're okay with raising your prices. So here's where I want you to be positioned in general. And look, do what you want with how you price things. Generally, what we teach and what I teach, I made this for our franchisees, is position themselves as upper middle class. I didn't say ultra rich or luxury, you notice. I said upper middle class. I'm going to tell you why. If you're lower priced, you're a commodity. There's only so far down you can go before like it's $0, right? You're a commodity at the lower price you are. And what most people do is when they're analyzing how much to price their services, they say, what's the average for the market? I'm going to go a little bit under them. Or let me go with like, everyone charges $50 an hour. I'm going to do $50 an hour as well. I kind of want to be priced there. What I'm going to tell you right now is be priced on the higher side of the market. You don't want to be offensively expensive, at least until you get your stuff together, then you can charge premium rates. But you're going to be at the upper end of the market. Remember, people perceive value for higher priced things. Be priced upper middle class. That's going to give you enough room to actually make money, pay your team, have a better service, all that kind of good stuff. The highest end pricing, whenever I've dealt with luxury clients, meaning in LA, we have people whose houses are worth tens of millions of dollars. I don't know why, but they've all been a pain in the butt. Absolute pain in the butt. I have many theories about it. But my point being, ultra luxury, some people say, hey, I'm going to be ultra luxury to make the max amount of money. I don't believe that's actually the case. I think it's a little bit more of a headache unless you want to provide a heavily curated service and super customized and all that kind of stuff. You can do that. I think if you're new or getting started out, I want to target people who don't have much time, who have enough money, where maybe the one I'm charging them is only like 1 hour of their income. That's kind of who you want to target, in my opinion, at the beginning. Eventually, you can work your way up. You'll figure out where you like playing with. What I mean is like you might say, hey, I really want to do the customized ultra luxury thing. Totally fine. Where you should start off, in my opinion, upper middle class. Think about it that way. Here's a quick rule of thumb. Local services should be around or under 50% gross margin all in. Now, disclaimer, it varies depending on industry. Now, you might be thinking, Neil, like gross margin, what are you talking about, dude? What is this term? Gross margin, guys, is simply your revenue minus the cost to deliver the service. If you're running a cleaning business, your labor is the cost of running the service. If you're paying for supplies, that would go in there potentially as well. But it's mostly just the labor. If you're running like an e-commerce store, you sell something for $100 and it costs you $30 to make the product, that $30 is your cost of goods. So $100 minus $30, your gross margin's $70. That's how this works. So when you come to industries like the cleaning industry or home service industry, generally you want your labor to be under 50%, meaning if you charge $200, you're paying your labor less than $100. Ideally, that's where you want to be. Now, you might be thinking, Neil, why are you pricing it that way rather than looking at what the market's dictating? Here's why, because I want you to first see like what your market dictates in terms of like how much cleaners cost. What's the going rate to pay cleaners? Then double that. I want you to work from a bottom-up approach. Too many people do this. They say, well, most people in the market are charging X number of dollars. I'm going to charge that too. That's how they do the pricing. I want you to price it by looking at your labor first and then making sure you at least double that amount. Boom, exactly here. Bottom-up approach is what you're doing for the perfect pricing formula. How much does labor cost? Double that. That's how you're going to price it. Simple as that. It's very, very simple, but it protects your margins. When I started, I was just trying to be the cheapest cleaning possible. So I'd say, all right, I'll charge $55 a cleaning. We should charge $55 a cleaning and pay the cleaner $40 to $45. And I thought, oh, this is fine. I made $10. Like this is great. Awful way of scaling. You can't really do much with that. Now our minimum pricing is probably $180. So it's significantly higher now. But we always make sure the number one thing I look at is how much are we paying labor? What's the CP or cleaner pay? That's what we look at. Whatever industry you're in, whether it's cleaning, whether it's mobile room repair, whether it's painting, whether it's window washing, it's the same concept. Generally, you want to be at least under 50% gross margin. Now, some industries, like if you're in HVAC or painting or things with a lot of CapEx, which is a lot of like upfront cost where you're paying for trucks, paying for equipment, generally your cost of labor is a much smaller percent because your ticket amount's higher. If we're talking about cleaning, under 50% all in is where I want you to be. Now, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Everything in business starts and begins with margin. Revenue is vanity, profit margins are sanity, as the old saying goes. Now, if you want to build a sustainable business for the long term, if you want to pay your team members well, build a community, you have to charge the right way. Using the perfect pricing formula with a bottom-up approach, where first you figure out how much labor costs and then make your margin on top of that, is the proper way of doing this. Now, if you want to learn more, I made another video telling you exactly how to go from zero to scaling your business from the ground up, so check it out.